Welcome back, CSC 121, to part 2 of EX9 Turtle Polygon Colors. And we had just started making a square here with our turtle and importing the turtle module, instantiating our turtle, giving it a color attribute, giving it a shape attribute, and then running a little loop here and making it kind of move forward and turn 4 times in this range of 4. And we're going to kind of build on that. And also, in case I didn't mention it, I might have, but if I didn't, this is from chapter 4 of How to Think Like a Computer Scientist. It's a great chapter. If you go to Python Turtle Graphics, it's a great chapter about turtles. They have a whole chapter where they work with these turtles, and they have some videos, and they have some things that you could kind of follow in here. They do a lot of detailed stuff with the turtles, so it's a good learning exercise to kind of work with these turtles a little bit. And like I said, it's a nice little change of pace. So that's chapter 4 of How to Think Like a Computer Scientist, where they work with turtles. We'll be doing more with turtles and the GUI later in the semester, but right now it's just a little introduction and they also do, you'll see things in here where they work with the window and the screen class, which we're not going to work with quite yet. We'll eventually get up there, but if you see that, we're not doing anything with the screen class just yet. So getting back to our exercise here, what we eventually want to do is create different polygons and use different colors here and position our turtle kind of halfway down here. So we could kind of build on that. Now, other things we could build on, if we wanted to fill this thing, we could just say, and again, we're using our instance name to kind of begin everything. We're going to say Tom, and we're putting this before the loop. We're going to say Tom begin fill, and it's underscore fill like this. And then at the end, you could copy this and take this out of the loop. So make sure you take away the indent. And this would be end fill over here. So that would make it so that it kind of fills it in a solid green. And that's what we're using so far. So if I run it, there you can see now he's running in a solid green. And if I wanted to speed up my thing here, and it's just for previewing purposes here, I'll put tom.speed. And I'll put like 8, so he goes a little faster. So every time we check it here, it'll go a lot faster. Or maybe that's a little too fast. And again, if we wanted to move him down here, what we could do, and this is where we're going to start thinking about variables a little bit, instead of having everything buried in here, because eventually this will be part of a function. We want to keep things outside of here where we could control them a little bit more. And to do that, things like how far he goes forward is a variable we can change. The degrees that he turns, we can change that. If we're doing squares, we wouldn't, but if we're doing other polygons, that degree is going to have to change. And also, this will change because this is 4 sides, so he's making a square, but if it was 5 sides, if it was a pentagon, this would be 5. So these numbers are all going to change. So those are things that we could use as variables, and we could start doing that a little bit. We could start putting some variables in here, and I'll give one just called length, and I'll say equals 80 for now. And then down here, I'll use the variable called length. And I can't use len because remember, len is a function that's part of Python, so I'm going to spell out length here and put 80. And now if I run this, it's going to be a little bit smaller. And also, this is going to change, or it may change, but right now I'll just put angle because it's kind of its angle. Now I'll put a value for angle for now. I'll just put 90, but that's going to change as well. So if I did this here, this wouldn't look any different, but you can see it's just feeding in that variable down here. So for the attribute of the method that's getting run in here, it's kind of using that value. And then begin fill, end fill doesn't have any, so we're okay. And also for in range here, we can even make another one called sides, and we'll say that equals 4. And that way I'll just put sides in here, and that way we're building it up. Even though we're not making anything random or changing anything, nothing looks different right now, we're kind of feeding the values in from up here, so it's a little easier to manage, at least to start. So that way, if we wanted to make a polygon, different number of sides, if it was a pentagon, it would be 5 sides. So it'd be 5 sides, and now when I run it, it's not working because he's going 90 degrees, so he's just moving around another time. So we're going to have to adjust the angle of that, because at 90 degrees, he just repeats that last thing. So angle is going to have to change. Angle can actually be a variable. So angle can actually be something like 360 divided by sides. And in that case, let's put our sides first, just because it probably should be first if we're going to use that in a calculation. So angle is actually going to be 360 because there's 360 degrees divided by sides. So you always want to have your variable declared first before you're using it in a little calculation here. So make sure that has sides. So now if we did that, this should make a pentagon. And now it is, because it's taken this value and it's whatever angle that is, 360 divided by 5, whatever that is, I can't think of it in my head, but it's probably something like 70-ish or something. 360 divided by 5, and it's 72. So it's going to put 72 in here for the angle. So it's doing that on the fly. So whatever we change here, it's updating in our operations, in our statements that's happening here. And then also, if we wanted to put the turtle, make him finish up down here halfway over in the middle, he's going to have to do a couple things. One of them he's going to have to do is he's going to have to do a go-to, and that's a positional thing we can do with the turtle. So we'll make sure we'll put Tom here, tom.goto, and they use an x and y coordinate. And remember, if this is x is 0, y is 0 right here, it's going to be negative going down, positive going up, positive going over. So if this is going 80, because based on this it's going over 80, that would be, it'd be going over 40. And then if we want to take them down about that same, so that's where I came up with that length divided by 2. So we can actually go here and say whatever length we throw in here, let's just say length divided by 2. So we can put calculations in here as arguments or as attributes in these methods. So, and I don't have that spelled right, I'll get back to that. I'll put my G in there. So length divided by 2, length divided by 2. You know, and I could even make a variable for length divided by 2 or something. So you could keep building on this to make it more efficient. So right now, nothing still should change other than my turtle at the end should go down here. And if I run it, he's not going down there because I spelled length wrong. Am I getting an error here? Okay, length on line 17. So I'm having a problem here because I always have a problem spelling length. Now I have it right, and now he should go down there, but you should see a pen line. And he actually disappeared. Error. I don't have an error there. I'm not sure why Tom go to. So that should be 80 divided by 2. He should go x to 40, and he should go to y to. Oh, I know why. I bet he's around somewhere. He's probably underneath the turtle, because I actually have to go. If this is x and this is y, this should be negative. So, because he's probably sitting right here and he's green and you can't see them. So it's good that I don't rehearse these too much, because then you could see these mistakes and then you might have the same mistake. So it's negative. Remember, the negative number is going down. So now it should work. And there's the little pen thing. So we want to do a pen up before he even goes there. So we'll do it before here, because if he goes there, he's going to have that pen, then the pen will come up. So we actually want to do Tom.pen up, and it's pen up like this. And these are a couple things I have on the notes. We're only using a couple. We're not using the whole, all the module attributes. So pen up, and then we also, the last thing is we're going to turn them, and we'll just do tom.goto, and we're not going to use the angle because we actually want them to go 90 degrees. So because we want them just facing up, so we'll just say 90. And that should be good. I think we should be good with that. And oh, not go to. I'm sorry. This should be left. So let me run that again. And he's just turning left, not going. So you see what he did? He went right back to there. But I had go to 90, and it actually went to one value. I'll have to check that out. But anyway, now it's centered okay. So that's okay. And now if we actually want to make different values here, now that would have to affect the attributes here, because we're going to change green. Green is going to be a value that we're going to change here. So let's just put in like a variable called color. We could put another variable up here, and I'll create another color. What I'll do is move, I'm cutting them, and I'll put all my instances down here, and I'll put all my variables at the top. And the one I just took out there is color, and I'll just put color, and I'm going to put color equals, and I'll put green right now. I'll put green to start because that's what we've been working with. So that's how I've been starting it out, just kind of using what we have. But if we want to make a random, if we want color to be a random color, how do we do that? And to do that, and let's just see if this works before I move on. Okay, that's good. So if we want to do a random color, what we could do is we could make a list of colors. And we'll do that, and I'll just call it color list. We just had a little video on lists. So I'm going to put some colors in here. I'll put red, green, blue, and then you should have commas in here, and they should have quotes around them, but I'll put in the quotes. Green, blue, I'll put in lime, magenta, crimson, I'll put in orange, and maybe violet, which may look. And if you ever need to see any colors, you could go to just look up HTML color names, and you could throw these in here. And even though these have capital letters in here, I'll try one just to see if there's two words, if you need the capital letters or not. Like here's orange red, so let me throw in orange red all lowercase and see if that works. If not, we'll have to do it with the capital letters here. And you can also use hexadecimal system. You could use RGB, RGBA. You can use any of those, but we'll just use strings for now. I'll make that orange red and see if that works, or if I get some kind of error or something when I try to use that. Now these need quotes on here. These color names need to be strings, so you could double click on here and hold Control on Windows, or I'm on a Mac, so I'm going to hold Command and just double click on each one in the list, and then I could just add quotes. Then I could just do Shift and the quotes, and it'll add quotes to all of them. So now I have a list of, I have 8 here, 8 different colors, and what we're going to do is make a random color show up to get applied to here. So this is going to be, and there's different ways you could do this that you can actually, I'll do it the hard way first, and then we'll do it the easy way. But just since we know how to make a random number, we're going to do that first and pull a random number from that list, and then we have another way that'll make that a little bit easier. So let's just, since we know how to make a random number, let's do that. We'll do what we already know. Import random. We have to import the random module, and then we'll create a random number. I'll just call it ran. I think I called it random or something like that. And the random is going to use the random.randint function, and inside here what we're going to do is we're going to create a random number based on this list. We have 8 in the list, and actually we could do, I don't think I did it like this the first time. Let me see how I did it the first time. First time I did 0 through 5 because we had a range of 0 through 5 in here. And what I could do here, if you had a large list, what you could do is you can make a range of 0 to the length of the list, although then we still have to subtract by 1, but you could do that. You could say 0 as the first one, and then the length of the list would be 8. Remember, if they started 0, this one's going to be 7, so we wouldn't get to 8. So you'd almost have to put length, and you could put that around color list, and there's probably an easier way to do that. And then you'd have to do -1 because you couldn't have 8, because 8 would be too many. You'd get an error, and I could take that away and we could try that out, and you'll see you'll get an error. So you could do that, 0 through that. That way, if you ever added more things to the list, you wouldn't have to keep updating this. So we have a random number from 0 to 7 is what's actually happening here. This is the same thing as 7. So I could have 7, or I'll undo that, or it could be that. Same thing right there. So now I'm getting that, but what am I going to do with that random number? Well, for color, I could basically say, if I wanted color green, just for example, I could say color equals, and that's what we have right now. The same thing would be, if I had color green, I could say color list, and in the square brackets, I could put 0, 1. I could put 1, and that would do green. So if I ran it right now, if I ran this thing right now, it should stay green, assuming I didn't do anything wrong, and it's still green. So if I did 2, it should be blue, and if I did 3, it should be lime, and you get the idea here. And if I did 8, let's say it was length of the color list, and this thing comes out to 8. If I put 8 in here, it's probably going to come out as black because it won't find that color, or you'll get an error. And there, out of range. So there's no 8 in there. So if you did 7, that'll be in range. That's why we have that -1 there. So there's my result. So it did the violet color, which I guess is a little lighter than the magenta. So that works. But instead of using numbers in here, which is absolute, which is not random, we could just put the random number here. So we could just use random, and that will basically substitute whatever number pops up from the random number generation will go in here, and whatever it happens to be, if it's 0, it'll make it red. If it's 3, it'll make it lime, or whatever it happens to be. You could even do a printout for the console to see what number it is, but we know that should work. So if we run this, there's a magenta one, and there's a red one, and there's a red one, and there's a red one, likes red, and there's the violet one. See if we get a lime one. No, it really likes red and violet, and there's blue. So we didn't get any greens yet, but that's okay. It's random, so it may take a while, and that looks like the lime one. So that's working. So we're getting random number, we're getting random colors from a list. And like I said, this is the hard way, because there's an easier way, because there's something called random choice that we can use too that could pull something from a list. But since we already know how to do a random number, it's good to kind of understand how to work with that, how to work with some of these calculations here. So that's creating that. And let me take a break here, and for part 3, we'll just finish this up.